We're clearly not very good at this.
I know, we suck. I don't know how to work as a team.
Me neither. Well, I do. I have been in a team, okay? I don't want to brag, but I will. I was in the Avengers.
The Avengers?
Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you.
What is that?
Wait, you don't have the Avengers?
Is that a band? Are you in a band?
Hello and welcome back to A Stark Contrast, where we discuss the differences and similarities from Marvel Comics to their MCU counterparts. And we are your hosts, Geoffrey
and Dai.
Hello, welcome back, everybody, for episode 28.
28.
Woo!
28. Wow, here we go.
I know.
We're doing some good stuff.
Yes.
Although, before we get into the regular run of show here, I just wanted to cover some stuff. First and foremost, some very sad news in the comic book world. The passing of a great comic book giant by the name of Neil Adams just happened very recently. Notable advocate for creator rights, whose body of work appears across publications. Like any superhero character you might like, he probably had something to do with its origins, something to do with its body of work, something to do with a title that it appeared in. So very sad news.
Man, tough.
Yeah, really, really sad to hear that. And just had to shout out Mr. Adams.
Well deserved.
Yeah, I used to see him a lot at shows, and he always had like this tremendous booth. Like it would always be like the end cap or something, and it was like
Really?
the size of 4 booths put together.
Oh God.
Because
Okay.
he just had so much work. Yeah, he had so much work to offer, and he would sign posters and comics and all the like, and it was kind of crazy to see because it was just like a sea of his artwork. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so it's going to be real sad to not see him there at the booth moving forward. But I'm sure he'll have some representatives and so that other people can enjoy his work. A legend in his own right. And then in much lighter news, in case you missed our last episode,
Oh yeah.
a gigantic, tremendous thanks to Mr. Jared Leto for his introduction to our Morbius character study. Like full disclosure, Geoffrey and I recorded that episode before we heard the message.
Yeah.
So
100%. Yes. 100%. Yeah.
So-
I remember I think I was sleeping. Oh, and I woke up and I got a text from Dai, and it just said, "Dude," and I was like, "Oh my God, no!"
If you get
what?
a dude from me, yeah. If you get a text that says nothing but "dude" from me, it means something.
I was like, what's happening? Usually when Dai says that, I'm like, okay, she's either gotten something, like something really cool. It's a premiere, or Marvel sent her something. So then I was like, what? And then it's just an audio file, and I was like, no. I played it. I was like, no.
I was dying because like I already had a delay in even replying to you because I was just losing my mind. And then I was also like, oh, I wish I could see the look on his face right now.
I had just woken up, so it was like one of those things where, like, when you wake up, your first alarm, and you like, oh, I have time, I'll sleep through it. So you sleep through it, and you think you're gonna wake up in 5 minutes because of the snooze, and then you end up seeing that, like, oh, I have 5 minutes to get to my destination, and my destination is 50 minutes away.
Oh, no.
It was that in the morning for me when I saw it, and you said, dude, and I was like, oh, what? And then it's that, and then I was just like, I immediately perked up, and I was like, oh my God. I was just like, you guys can't obviously see this, but I'm doing the motion of me holding my phone to my ear because I was like, there's no way. And I was like, yep, no, that's very him.
That's him. Super surprise from JL. So thanks, JL.
Thanks, Jared.
Yeah, really appreciate that. But thanks to that delightful share of the show. I'm happy to say, Geoffrey, we've got some new listeners.
I will. Well,
This is gonna be.
I'd be disappointed if
crazy.
we didn't.
I know. Yeah. No. He really.
To keep
did
ourselves
us-
humble, but I wouldn't be surprised if we did it.
JL did us a huge favor. So bear with me as I go through this list. This is gonna be a wild one. So as always, we like to kind of shout out the new countries that are showing up on our radar, at least from what we can see. And so hello, I'm not gonna say each individual greeting because we would be here all night.
Okay, sure.
But hello to our new listeners in Costa Rica,
Whoa.
Aruba, Panama, Colombia, Ecuador, Bolivia, Chile, Puerto Rico, Singapore, Taiwan, Thailand, Japan, Sri Lanka, Georgia, Turkey, Greece, Serbia, Croatia. We already said Croatia before, but Croatia again, Hungary, Slovakia, Czechia, Poland, Latvia, and Scotland.
Whoa.
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 Yeah, so we just added all of those countries.
Whoa, that's like Central
Yeah.
America, a little bit South America,
Lots of South
Southeast
America.
Asia,
Yeah, we got a lot of Asia
Europe.
up there.
Eastern Europe.
Yep. All the people that we kind of
Whoa.
hadn't touched yet just
Whoa.
came through. Woo!
Whoa.
Yeah. Gigantic.
Whoa.
That's incredible.
That's
Yes.
insane.
I just thought, there might be a couple. Like, I started looking at the map and I was like, holy cannoli. Or as Jared would say, holy guacamole. So, Geoffrey's face.
I forgot about that. I forgot about that.
Holy
Oh my
guacamole. Yeah, so
God. I forgot about those shirts. Okay. Yeah.
So hello to everyone. I hope you're sticking with us and listening to the episodes or going back. In fact,
Thank you guys so much.
that's incredible news.
Oh my God, we
Yeah,
love you
so
guys.
thank you so much. And then before we start, actually, tackling this episode, this week in Marvel news, we got big endings and beginnings here.
a lot.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, speaking of Jared, first of all, Morbius is digitally available on May 17th, and its home release version will be available June 14th. So if you plan on purchasing the film or finally watching the film or owning the film, you can do all of those things within the next month and a half. John Watts has exited the Fantastic
Yes.
Four revival.
But I don't think it should be looked into it that deep though.
Yeah?
I don't think so.
You think he just got another
I
gig
think
and
it's
he was like,
either another gig or no. I think there was a quote from him of like saying like just comic book movies, like superhero movies, like just
Yeah.
want to take a break from it
oh,
a
okay.
little bit,
No, that's valid.
and that's fine. Doesn't
Yeah.
mean he has anything against.
Yeah, and I think he's still on as executive producer.
Maybe, probably, yeah,
something like
probably,
that,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Okay.
it's like I don't think it's like a creative
yeah.
differences thing. It's just like
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I just did a freaking Spider-Man trilogy.
Exactly.
With the biggest and the ending of that trilogy,
Right.
like the biggest movie ever
Yeah.
that I've done, probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just
Well, here's a question for you, film kid. Who would you like to see? Or do you have a thought of who you would like to see bring the Fantastic Four?
that's tough
back.
because if Raimi can come back,
Yeah.
to
Would you tap a director that's already kind of in the Marvel
I mean,
universe?
I wouldn't rule it out, but then obviously, oh man, who else now? Like, there's probably also someone like new out there, like
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
like
The
just-
next John
just
Watts.
Take it, just take it on, like
Yeah.
or a Peyton Reed or
Yeah.
somebody, or I think there was like rumors of like the Russos maybe taking over.
Whoa.
That. I mean, I'd be, that'd be cool.
Interesting, yeah.
But like I said, this is a whole new quote unquote IP for Marvel Studios.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially,
yeah.
so
First
it's like
family.
I don't know. It's like and because of what Marvel Studios has done these last 12, 13 years,
Mm-hmm.
they have a pretty high, there's a high bar set for them. And I
Yeah.
get it because I see it on Twitter and everything.
Yeah.
It's like, especially with Multiverse of Madness coming out, they're like, we want to see all these cameos,
Yeah.
and then and then make sure they get the castings right.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a lot, but I think but Marvel has always focused on story first, having a great story with characters.
Mm-hmm.
So then as long as they put that first, I have really no problem
Yeah.
of like who they choose, what they do, as long as they get the story that they want to tell
Yeah.
in the bigger, broader universe, but
Yeah.
still keep it grounded to the 4.
Mm-hmm.
They're fine.
Yeah.
I'm not really worried.
Woo. So I guess we'll find out like in a few months.
They haven't even
They haven't
set a
started,
release like
no.
a target date, right?
No.
So it's like
It's still
I
floating.
know people just want Fantastic Four because
Yeah, Fantastic Four.
it's Fantastic Four, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Richards, like
Yeah.
Susan Storm, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah, and because of like what happened with the last one, it's like
Yeah.
we kind of want to see it in a new light, and you know.
And I always forget it happened. Like
I know.
I always forget. And I actually saw it, but I did like the Jessica Alba ones, as we call them.
I did too. I mean, that's kind
Quite
of
a
where
bit,
I
yeah.
like fell in love with Jessica Alba, and like I thought she killed
And
it
our
too.
first Chris Evans.
Yeah,
in the
that
MCU,
too.
quote unquote.
Even like
MCU.
guy who Michael Chiklis has Ben
Michael
Grimm.
Chiklis,
Like he was
yeah.
great.
He was great. Yeah, I
And
loved him.
oh,
Ewan
God.
Griffin.
Yes, Ian McGruff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then beyond that, we have the Moon Knight series or season finale.
I
coming
noticed
up.
that they the Marvel Studios put
Did they
season or series, and then someone else and another like official account said season. It had opposite.
Oh,
One
they
said
did.
series, one said season.
Oh,
Everyone's
interesting.
like,
Which one
"What are you
is it?
saying?" Like, I don't
Well,
know.
it's like what I mentioned with WandaVision, for instance. Initially, they had said series finale, and
Yeah.
then they changed it to season, and it was like, oh. And then from then on, they just didn't do it. Well, I mean, Falcon and Winter Soldier, they just put Captain America will be back, or Captain America and the Winter Soldier will be back, and
yeah.
then Loki was also will be back. So this will be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. I mean, we'll probably talk more about this in our mini Marvel or something
Yep.
of the sort. But yeah, I mean, that episode 5, guys, woo!
It's getting really good.
Yeah, by the time
I love
you
how
hear
this
this,
show is.
oh, it's just
Love
so
it.
fantastic. Yeah, by the time you hear this, the show will be fully available. So if you haven't binged it yet, or even dipped your toe in, please go for it. It's so fantastic. Oscar Isaac is incredible. And May Kalamaui is also absolutely delightful, and I want to see more of her too. And then, yeah, as Geoffrey said, Doctor Strange 2 will be in theaters. It hits theaters this weekend, in fact.
By the time this episode comes out, it
Yeah.
will be out
Our
worldwide.
minds will be blown and obliterated.
Yeah.
We may have humans spontaneously combusted
Yeah.
at this point, but I'm sure it'll all be out of pure joy.
Yeah,
And
I'm
happiness.
I'm just ready.
Yeah.
I was telling Dai before we started recording. Dai is a purist.
I'm such a purist.
She will literally
fault.
see nothing. Like will try to not see anything. Me, I don't care. I went out of my way to see the leaks that got leaked, and I was just
It's
like,
fantastic.
I gotta know what it is because it's gonna bother me. So
Yeah.
I saw it, and I just told Dai, I was like, yeah, well,
Yeah.
something's happening. Something's definitely happening, and I'm just curious to how they get to that
To that point.
and how they
Oh,
explain
man.
it is going to be insane.
I can't
Credits to
wait.
Sam Raimi and Michael Waldron, the writer, for putting this much story in this movie,
I can't
but still
even.
being a Doctor Strange sequel.
And under 3 hours. Which
Incredibly under 3 hours.
That's so difficult.
Yeah.
So that's what I am very intrigued about of how they're going to really make it a multiverse of madness in less than 2.5 hours, because that's a feat. I feel like that's very much a feat. But
Yeah.
again, like you said before, as you know, it's a testament of how much they believe that they're getting the story told correctly in that time. So yeah, and again, like we've trusted Raimi before, we have no reason to not trust him again. And yeah, I'm excited.
I'm super excited. Yeah.
So
Di
good.
sees it earlier than I do.
I see it
So
just a fraction
I already know
earlier.
when she sees it, she's
Yeah.
gonna text me,
I'm just gonna be like, dude.
and I'd be like, "Yes, confirm my leaks."
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like,
oh man, goodness gracious. And then just a couple of date updates for film releases. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is officially pushed up and being released February 20. What am I saying? That's my birthday. February 17th, 2023. And it switched places with the Marvels, which is Captain Marvel 2, which is now released on July 28th, 2023.
You know what's crazy? You said 2023, and I was just like, "Oh man, it's so far away."
And it's literally next
That's
year.
the next year.
Yeah.
and we're midway
right?
through 2022.
Yeah.
So
We're
I was like,
halfway to Halloween.
I was like, okay.
It's so crazy. What is time? So that said, and as Bucky Barnes is playing with his toys in the background.
Yep.
As always, we are not experts and we don't claim to be. We're just a couple of fans. Nerds. Just nerding out.
Yes.
So, today's episode is not so much the traditional character study. This is a character we visited early on in the show.
I'm so very excited about
Episode
this.
2, by
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah.
So that was quite a while ago.
Yeah.
And of course, if you'd like to learn more, please go back and check that episode out. But in the meanwhile, today's character study, sort of, or discussion
Comparison.
is the one and only Peter Parker. Spider-Man. Peter
But
Parker
not-
Part 2.
But not just one of them.
The big 3.
It is the 3 that
Yes.
have only played Spider-Man in live action.
In live action, at
Yeah.
least in this century.
Yeah. Which is insane.
Yeah. So, just a quick rundown. First appearance, Amazing Fantasy number 15, August 1962, created by none other than Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, with the issue itself colored by Stan Goldberg and the cover by Jack King Kirby. So, I went and checked the prices again, just to check.
Yeah.
And so that lot of issues that included Amazing Fantasy number 15 and then 5 or 6 or 12 issues after that, whatever the key issues were, it's still up there. So if you wish, you can get a 7.0 of Spider-Man's first appearance plus additional books for a cool $700,000. And then
7.0
for 7.0 graded. Yeah. And then I did a double and I searched what's the lowest
grade.
grade, lowest price. Oh my god.
No.
A 0.5.
That thing's got to be beat up
It's
then.
beat up. The cover is in shambles. It probably can't even stay together, to
Barely.
be honest. Yeah, but it is complete. Still, do you want to give me a number?
I'm gonna be
you
so
want to ballpark
mad.
this?
Is it
0.5, okay?
That's literally horrible.
That's
It's like my GPA in high school. I'm just kidding. I wasn't that dumb, okay,
it's
guys.
not bad.
I know it's believable, but I promise it. I promise it's not. It wasn't that.
Aw.
I mean, is it still 4 figures, thousands?
It is indeed.
What?
Yes.
Sorry, did I peek? What?
Yes, it is.
Dude.
It's still.
Let me go buy one and just be like,
Yeah.
like find one in a comic.
I did, because I thought too. I was like, oh, well, maybe if it's it's like graded at least, and it's like a 0.5. Maybe I can afford it. And I was like,
0.5?
no.
Oh my, 1,500
No.
higher.
Times 10.
What?
Yeah. So as a 0.5, not even a full decimal, which is essentially it.
The lowest of the low.
The
It's
lowest.
in shambles.
Like the bless the person who graded
It's
that
in
book.
shambles. It's probably missing a staple or two.
Oh, it probably doesn't even have staples, to be
It's
honest.
just folded. It's
You got-
perforated
yeah,
lines.
You got to see a picture of this thing. So a 0.5, a 0.5 of Amazing Fantasy number 15 is still $15,000.
Dude.
Here we go. So it says trimmed. It's called trimmed. Oh, not even 15,800. So there's only 2 pictures of it, and somebody's watching it. So it's bad.
Oh,
Brown pages
It's all
and it's
yellowed.
super beat up.
It's crumpled,
Yeah.
ripped.
But imagine carrying that through your life.
Who's buying it? Though? Who's gonna buy this?
Somebody who just wants to own a piece of Spider-Man memorabilia.
You got to be a freak.
I mean,
yeah. I say that, but I mean that in as a term of endearment.
for sure. Yeah. I mean, imagine though, right? But also the journey that copy must have gone through.
Exactly. That's what I'm
That's,
saying. Imagine I'll just hold on to this.
60 years that person held on to that book. Yeah.
It's history right there.
it's a piece of history.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Like it or hate it. That is a piece of history and $15,000 worth of history.
I would sell that in a heartbeat.
So, back to the big three.
Yeah.
Again, this is not a traditional episode, so
Yeah.
we're just gonna kind of breeze through.
Well, the reason why I wanted to do this because I think Dai had brought it up. Like, should we do the three? Or someone, a listener had brought it up.
yeah.
Something I forget who. And they're like, oh, three. What about doing the three Spideys?
Yes.
And I was like, huh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And I was like,
It might have been Robin, but it was I think it was somebody on
yeah.
Twitter.
And I was
Yeah.
like, huh, that's interesting because
Yeah.
obviously we've already done a super deep dive into Spidey himself and
Mm-hmm.
Peter. And I'm like, well, it's not every lifetime
Mm-hmm.
you have 3 live action Spider-Man that have existed in the same universe.
Yeah.
3 different actors, 3
Mm-hmm.
iconic actors who have played this iconic role that
Mm-hmm.
everybody loves. It's like it felt right to do all 3 because although they're the same character of Peter Parker, Spider-Man,
Mm-hmm.
you can tell the difference between Tobey, Andrew, and Tom.
Right.
And I thought that was pretty cool to like that. I thought it would be a cool opportunity for us to kind of like break down their journeys and how all their journeys have come together in, Spider-Man No Way Home.
Mm-hmm.
And it just gives us like more of a chance to like dive deep into like the film part of like, of the movies
Mm-hmm.
and like break down the characters from the movies to like how they are in the comics, but then how they interact, even though they're the same core character,
Mm-hmm.
but they're interacting with each other, but they're so different. Like it's so obviously different.
Yeah.
Like when you see it in No Way Home, and so I was like, that's cool.
Right.
And then before we started recording, Dai and I watched the extras.
No Way Home extras.
Just to kind of see like the behind the scenes of the 3 Peters and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of cool insight actually
Yeah.
into them. And so yeah, it's just a no-brainer to like, if we're gonna redo a character on the pod, it's gonna be Peter Parker.
It's gonna be Peter Parker. So speaking of Peter Parker, let's take the journey with Peter 1. Oh, Peter 2.
This is Peter 2.
Peter 2.
Yes.
Tobey Maguire.
Yes.
From the Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, and Spider-Man 3 films, as well as obviously Spider-Man No Way Home. So like, just looking at his quick stats. So he was Spider-Man from 2002 to 2007.
Yep.
With a brief gap, until 2022, which is essentially 15 years.
Crazy.
Before putting on, the spider suit again. And of course, in the film, he played opposite of Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane Watson. Yeah, like what isn't there to say about this film? Because it was such a pillar when it came to
It was a game changer for superhero movies.
100%. Like,
Yeah.
Batman obviously was the Reeves Superman trilogy was also incredible. But like in its own right, Spider-Man just like Raimi really nailed that. Despite the changes,
Sure.
if you will, that occurred and that people, like as they do now, just kind of mutated and complain about. It had its own share of flack back in the day, but like the way that people talk about it so fondly now
I know.
is
right?
so interesting to me.
like it's not made fun of, but it's like they accept it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like obviously the big change I
Right.
think that we're talking about is the natural web
the
fluid.
the organic web yeah.
fluid that's brewing that
Right.
brews inside him.
Right.
Rather than like your typical web
Right.
shooters.
So when you were a kid and this was your first sort of
Yes,
really
100%.
big exploration of Spidey,
100%.
but how?
So I thought that was how it was.
Yeah. So how did you feel when you were finally introduced to the web shooters? Were you like, what the heck is this?
I was just like, what do I believe that? I think that was me because
What
like
is real?
I never like reject something. I'm always
Yeah.
just like, why is it like that?
Yeah.
Is that so? I'm like, so what? So then I think I don't know who told me. Probably
Yeah.
later, way down the line when I started getting into comic book movie lore. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, okay. He actually, because he's a smart kid, he actually makes his web shooters
Yeah.
because he's a freaking
He's
genius.
a genius. Yeah.
So then, and then Toby's Sam Raimi's Spider-Man is just out of his wrist.
He's got a wrist
and you're
thing.
like,
yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
I wonder what made him decide that. And
Yeah.
then I forget, like,
It's the financial situation. And we went through
Yeah,
that
yeah.
in the original character study of this character, in that web fluid and creating the web shooters themselves would actually, quote unquote, in reality, cost Peter Parker essentially
Money.
the amount of money needed for 0.05 of Amazing Fantasy number 15.
I mean, that's true.
Which is like, yeah, and it's a huge undertaking. But if you want to make it believable in the sense that, like, how, yeah, you know, like how could the audience really believe that this 17-year-old, 16-year-old kid
yeah.
created web shooters?
Oh, like
And
live
then
action on screen.
Live
Sure,
action on
sure.
screen, which is also, you know, and you got to remember this is also on the hind legs of the X-Men film. So
Oh, the first X-Men. 2000,
right.
yeah.
So this is like a year and a half, 2 years after, and you're kind of thinking, okay, well, this grand audience is being reconnected to these superhuman characters
Yeah.
that have these abilities. You're seeing claws come out of a man's, like, fist
True.
for the first time. What?
Yeah. I mean,
And-
when you think,
Yeah.
obviously now that's like normal.
No, it's so normal.
You know, but back in the day,
yeah.
like, what is this? Well, this is so
Yeah,
like
exactly.
childish or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Corny.
And then,
yeah.
And then, you know, so I wonder if the thought process was, well, we've seen that. We've seen a woman who can absorb someone's psyche just by touching them. We can see people create ice through their fingertips. Why can't this spider kid just have webbing come out of his wrist?
Yeah. I mean, sure.
So I could see it from that way, but on my side of the spectrum, it was kind of strange to be like, wait, what?
Okay. Yeah. I would assume for like people who know the comic
Yeah.
character, you're like,
Yeah, like, whoa, what?
where did that come
Well,
from?
and also not so much the fact that it's just literally coming out of his body, but also, it's kind of like what I've said when it comes to taking liberties with the storyline, like skipping over Gwen Stacy. It's kind of like, well, now that character doesn't have the challenges that he would have experienced having web shooters only. He's got like
it.
infinite lives in a weird way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think for at least for me, when it came to like absorbing that storyline, I was like, well, now he's never gonna run out of fluid. So is he gonna fall as much? Is he gonna have these same issues, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
that say Andrew Garfield's did? And
Yeah.
that was an interesting way to kind of go about his journey. But yeah, I mean, aside Kirsten Dunst as MJ, there was also James Franco as Harry, and then of course the great Willem Dafoe, who we've talked about in his own episode for the Green Goblin. But yeah, like, do you have a favorite when it comes to Tobey's villains, or do you have a favorite storyline or plot when it comes to Raimi's trilogy?
Ooh.
I know it's like, is it a little bit of each one, or
A little, kind of. Well, it's just like we said. Like, I praise Willem all the time.
yeah?
Like, but Spider-Man 2 is just such a great
What do you think it is about Spider-Man 2?
film.
What is it about Spider-Man 2?
You know what I do think it is? I do think it's the CGI, like the technology of how it looks for that time. It looks great because the 2002, because the first one was great too. Like,
Yeah.
the swinging looked great.
Yeah.
But then it improved a little bit in 04. Like, obviously with Doc Ock's puppeteered like arms, and thing it just looks. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. A lot of the action sequences
Yeah,
in Spider-Man 2 are really iconic.
I
you
think
know?
so too, because I almost feel like there was like a flavor to Spider-Man that was like edge of 1990s. it had like the Blade film and kind of like the original Punisher with Dolph Lundgren
Sure,
and stuff
yeah.
like that, where it's like it has this I don't know what it is, but it's got this little flavor of 1990s. Like it could have been made in 1999 if you really
Yeah.
thought about it or didn't think about it. And then Spider-Man 2 comes along and it has this really refreshed, like, millennial feel of like, oh yeah, it is like something. It's like, it's refreshing because it did have that tech that was like a bit more advanced and it had a crisper look to it. And even, you know, even comparing like the posters, for instance, you know what I mean? Like those posters were
posters
so
in general
iconic.
in that era were like unmatched.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah.
And I I think I said this during the Spider-Man episode. I had, and I probably have them somewhere. I had every single one of those posters because they were so iconic.
It's good.
So it's like Toby from behind without the mask, and then the one with him and MJ, and then the one with him coming out from behind the corner of the building.
My
with the
favorite is the
Twin
one
Towers
where
in
he's
his eyes.
crawling up the building.
Yeah. And so the whole mood of Spider-Man 2 was just like, no pun intended, but it was like sensational the way that they put it together.
Crazy.
And then of course, like as compelling as a villain that Green Goblin is, and as incredible of an actor as Willem Dafoe is, there was something about Alfred Molina's Ock that just kind of like, I don't know, and he does it again in No Way Home.
They both, dude. Yeah,
They're both
there's a
incredible.
reason they have a big role in No Way Home.
Right.
Like they kill it.
Right. But you know, and it dawned on me just as we watched these bonus and the extras, and it's something that Jamie Foxx said, and it's like, you feel with Alfred Molina playing Doc Ock, you feel his conflict as a quote unquote villain.
Yes.
And I think that's the difference, at least for me, when it comes to Green Goblin versus Doc Ock, and how it does kind of tip the scale a little bit. Because again, I love Green Goblin. Like I love Green Goblin. But when we're talking cinematic villains, like Doc Ock really takes it for me.
Yeah.
And it's because of all these elements mixed in with the fact that Alfred Molina himself is just a great actor, but also the puppeteering, the way that the tendrils, the octopus arms are the way they move. And I did love the fact that they were practical before.
For sure at the time. Yeah.
And it's kind of funny watching the bonuses for No Way Home and to see there's literally nothing there anymore, you know? And I remember in the Spider-Man 2 like extras, they do show it, and they show like it's so monstrous and so cool to see, and so I kind of miss that. But
it's very laborious though.
Yeah.
If you think about it, like obviously at the time, like CGI wasn't the way it is at the time. So if you just puppeteer it, and it's laborious, but it's worth it to do it on set rather than, you know, just CGI it at the time.
Yeah. Because he had like 2 people or 1 person.
It's
for
like
each
3-4
arm.
people. Yeah. Just to
insane. I really, really, really enjoyed his portrayal. Did I ever tell you I went to that premiere?
I think so.
Dude, like I camped out. Like there used to be this, I think I mentioned
the good
this
old
before.
days.
Yeah, there used to be this website, seeingstars.com or something, and it would post every upcoming movie premiere that was going to happen on Hollywood Boulevard.
Oh wow.
So I every day, you know, on my AOL going online, the freaking modem, going online, going onto that site and waiting for like Spider-Man to pop up, and it finally popped up. So I figured it out, and then me and a couple friends went out like that morning at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and my parents were like, "Where are you going?" And I was like,
at 8 in the morning.
Yeah, like not going anywhere. But we were camping out in that stretch in front of the theater, and back in the day you could just do that. You could just lounge and pop a squat, and they had the gates up already, like kind of like they do at Hollywood and Highland now. But people were really there for hours, like literal hours. And so we got up right up to the gate and met a whole bunch of people going in, including Sam Raimi. So I have a picture of Sam Raimi somewhere. Wow. Yeah. I gotta find it for you. I have a picture.
You gotta post that.
I have a picture of Sam Raimi as well as James Franco. And then they used to be really cool and let people that were there from the get-go into an overflow theater. Oh. So my friends and I got to see it that day, which was like a good week or 2 before the film came out.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. So that movie really does have some like a special place with me, because it was just like such a day and such an energy to it. You know what I mean? But and then there's Spider-Man 3.
It's tough.
It is tough.
I like giving it the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. And I feel like it's better accepted now. I feel like people don't talk as much about it in a bad way, because of No Way Home.
studio got involved with that movie for sure. I think Sam Raimi has
100%.
touched upon that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I get it. At the time, they're like, "Oh my God, Spider-Man 1 and 2 have made so much money."
Yeah.
So for this third one, you need to put this person and this person. It's like, well,
Right.
I didn't really plan. I was like, nope, put these in
Right.
and make a story out
Yeah.
of it. And you're like, dude,
Well,
okay.
Because we also mentioned this in our Eddie Brock Venom episode. Like, even Topher Grace was like, I don't know how I got that role. he just walked up one day and was like, well, I guess I'm Eddie Brock now, and he had it. Like, that's it. He had it.
Crazy.
So yeah, I kind of believe that, and I think we've discussed this. I don't know which episode, but Sam, Raimi himself is a huge Spider-Man fan.
Yeah.
So he had, when he was kind of going about creating his trilogy or his string of films as they were going to be, he kind of had an idea of who he wanted in each film. And so I fully believe that by 3, because of the outstanding success of 1 and then 2, I think 2 like almost obliterated like 1's records because it was so
It
sensational.
was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt that the studio was kind of like, all right, yeah, you got to put these characters in it. And we want all these characters. You have to do it this way. And they were like, and he was like, ah.
Yeah. Because I heard an interview with Sam. I think he was doing it for Multiverse of Madness. I think someone asked him about like, what was that Spider-Man 4 gonna look like? And he was like, oh, I wanted.
right.
He was like,
Yeah,
I wanted.
right.
He was like, I was gonna have Craven in it. And it was just like, he was like, I had a whole story.
And Vulture. 'cause
Yeah.
He had
He was like, I had a whole
Yeah.
story, but it did what it did, and it is what it is. And it's like, well.
Do
oh,
we
man.
remember why they did not go through with it?
I forget. See, that was
Right.
that was 2007.
That was gonna be
8. So I was in
9.
7th to 8th grade.
That was going to be 8, 9 if they did it on track.
Yeah, so I wasn't even like paying attention to the news, at least like that, at least reports and everything like that, like at the time. So
Right.
I couldn't tell
I have
you.
no idea. I have no recollection.
Yeah.
None whatsoever. After 3, it was kind of like, well,
Yeah, I remember seeing 3, and then I remember like reading like the hate about it, and like oh my God, like it was so all over the place.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da.
well, that's kind of what makes me wonder why people are so hell-bent on getting a 4th, especially after all this time. Like,
I know.
it's like not to say that these were the same people, but it's kind of like, well, so many people like just trashed number 3. So you're saying you want a number 4 after you didn't accept number 3? And is it because of the success of No Way Home?
Probably.
Because
There's only one
honestly-
person to thank for that.
Yeah.
It's not Sony.
It's
It's not Sony.
but and at least not by themselves, and it's
Yeah.
kind of like, yeah, there's all these factors why a 4 would even be appealing to people. It is because of what's the journey that has happened in between.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is that a good time to kind of jump into Andrew Garfield?
Oh, no,
Peter 3?
Yeah, Peter 3.
Peter 3. So, Andrew Garfield, who appeared in Amazing Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2, and of course, Spider-Man No Way Home, portrayed Peter Parker from 2012 to 2014.
2012. Okay, yeah.
And then the big leap, not as big, but a big leap to 2022 when his reappearance as the character, and which is a 8-year gap, which, by the way, today
Oh, wow.
is the 8th year anniversary of Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yes,
in
it
theaters.
is.
Yes. I had heart palpitations during that film. 8 years ago today, I was having a heart attack in the theater seeing Gwen Stacy die on screen. It's fantastic. Oh, man. Speaking of Gwen Stacy, Andrew
God.
Garfield, opposite of Emma Stone. Oh,
You had
it's a
me- you
poop
had
on
me
myself.
there. You had me there.
Yeah, my bad.
Keeping it.
Emma Stone. Emma Stone is Gwen Stacy. Incomparable Emma Stone, who looked lovely at the Met Gala, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so his run was, unfortunately, he says it in the extras too. It came to a very
abrupt
end.
Yeah. I like his Peter Parker. Like I said this back in
Yeah.
I think, in the Peter Parker, like
Yeah.
I've grown to love his Peter Parker. It's not his fault, the
Right.
studio decided to handle
Absolutely.
his trilogy like that.
Yeah.
I noticed because I would watch like YouTube creators and stuff too, would like compare like the two. Like, I like how natural his suit looks. Like, there's like for example, like the opening scene where he's just going in, zipping away, flowing through the wind. You can see the ripples in his suit.
Yeah.
So people have like made notice of that, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
it's really like,
Because it's not
it's really
taut
cool.
and
Like,
fit
it's very
on him. Yeah.
tangible. It's very,
Right.
you know, and I'm like, you know what?
Yeah, that shot.
The visual,
oof.
the visuals of ASM movies are really great.
Which I think they adapted. Speaking of that shot, I'm pretty sure they adapted that into the the PlayStation game. I don't know if it's the first scene as well, but it's one of those opening scenes when you see Spider-Man from above and he's diving down.
Yes.
And it's a direct homage to Andy's scene.
It's amazing.
Pun intended.
I love Andrew
Yeah.
Garfield Spider-Man.
Yes. I just adore him as Spidey.
He's great. You can tell he really, I mean, all three of them love being the character, but you can
Yeah.
tell Andrew, after all seeing the behind the scenes stuff, he really loves, like he's a gatekeeper
Yeah.
of like if I'm going to do this character,
Yeah.
it has to be with purpose and a
Yeah.
reason, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and he similarly with Tom Holland, he too, when he was a kid, has a picture of himself like dressed as Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
And it's just
Yeah.
like the cutest thing because it's
What a
like,
guy.
man, so like we're already in the world of the next Spider-Man of the next generation. Like he's out there somewhere and he's wearing a Tom Holland or a Tobey Maguire or an
Somebody
Andrew
is,
Garfield like suit, and like he's next,
Crazy.
right? Like or she, you know, like they're next.
Crazy.
Which is so adorable and awesome to think about. And so when it comes to Andrew's villains, we have the Lizard, and then portrayed by Rise Efrans, I believe that's how you say his name. And then of course Jamie Foxx as Electro, and then Thomas Hayden Church as the Sandman. No, that was
Toby.
him. Yep. Wait, is that Toby? That was Toby.
Yes, Toby.
So who else
Goblin.
did we have? Oh, we had Gobby Jr.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, second Gobby Jr., I guess.
Yeah,
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 that's
yeah.
true. Yeah. Do you have a favorite of the three?
I mean, I'm obviously in between Electro and Lizard. I liked.
I can't with Electro. All I hear is dubstep.
Okay, yeah.
I mean,
And then when he played the Itsy Spider, like, I was just like, okay.
yeah. I actually have to. I
But
have to give it to the
But
Lizard
I did like
for
the
this
Lizard
one.
fight only just
Yeah.
because, like, well, I mean, it's just
Yeah.
hilarious. Like when he's fighting in the
Yeah.
class at school, and then like the final fight when he's with Gwen Stacy's dad and everything. Like, it's a really emotional moment. It's like, so yeah, I like probably Lizard.
Yeah.
You know, and like the motives behind it. It's like he's like,
Yeah.
I just want to turn everyone into a lizard.
Yeah. He just wants to turn everybody into a city of lizards.
It's like I'll never
Lizards.
forget that panel that you sent me. He's like, Doc, you have the power to cure cancer. I don't want to cure cancer. I want to turn everybody into a dinosaur.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, right? Oh,
I'm just like,
Doc
you know what?
Connors.
That's a
Yeah.
supervillain right there. Like, he's like, yeah.
That's his purpose. He has his purpose. He's going with it.
Like, it's pretty
Yeah.
good.
I do. The one thing I do wish is that they had taken the more lizard-like approach with his like face, because they did try to kind of preserve his like humanity and the human
Okay.
side of him with the way that his facial structure was. I think I saw somewhere toward No Way Home that they were actually dabbling in maybe kind of revising his look and making it a more pronounced maw, and
Like
he had like a
beak-ish?
beak, like he was more like a lizard and like the one in the comic books
Yeah.
rather than the one that we have seen in the previous films. But God, if they had only done it, I would have been like, man, that would have been some
There it is.
stellar, like, yeah, that'd be so great.
Yeah.
Because I mean, did you watch Suicide Squad, the first one? Because Killer Croc was pretty rad. Yeah, and then of course like how in the Suicide Squad with the shark guy, like James Gunn did some incredible work with like a freaking human shark. You know what I mean?
He looks good.
So to have had them revise the lizard a little bit would have been pretty awesome. So I'm kind of sad that they didn't, but it's nice to see a familiar face. Yeah, he kind of has my vote. He has my vote. I mean, the reasoning for his kind of doing what he does in the film is a little funny, but I think I enjoyed his storyline, and I felt it was more fleshed out because you do get to see Peter kind of use more of his scientific prowess in the calculations, because they were two minds that were kind of battling it out.
Yeah. And he has a like a pretty like deep relationship with Dr. Connors.
Yeah,
so.
that exactly. And then the way that they did the practical arm stuff. The arm growth was like one of the coolest things ever too. Yeah, and I mean, not to shy away from Jamie Foxx's performance at all. I think it was an interesting, like, Amazing Spider-Man 2 is just an interesting film. Like, I think it deserves more credit than people give it.
Yes, I agree.
But it does have some things where you're just like, God, if they had just taken away one or two things and saved it for a third film, they probably would have gotten a third film, you know? And
yeah, I'll never forget when ASM 2 came out.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, I think I'm going to go see that. I was like, oh, like Electro, oh, Jamie Foxx is in it, you know? And then it came out.
Yeah.
And it just got like wrecked online.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. And I think that's why I never saw it at the time in theaters. And I was just like, oh, okay, well.
Yeah. I mean, and also, like, speaking of, you know, Jamie Foxx's Electro, it was such a departure from what he looked like in the books. And and of course, by this time, you know, having learned what studios were not doing when it came to the way comic book characters looked in their film versions, it's that line from X-Men where Wolverine or whoever says, like, what did you expect? Yellow spandex. And it's like, well, yeah, we actually kind of want
a little bit.
Yeah.
Like at some point.
Right. And so I think I think that was a huge thing with Jamie Foxx, because they presented him with this, you know, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of persona when it came to Max. And then when he becomes Electro, he's like this blue, purple, like, you know, Electro, evil alien looking thing, versus the version in No Way Home, which is a lot more composed. And again, like, as they even say in the extras, he's got this yellow star thing, which it's kind of funny. Like, why do studios think, oh, I'm going to put out the worst possible thing so that they'll actually appreciate what we do in the next one? Like, why can't they just jump to the better, like, resolve? I just don't get it.
Hey, you live and you learn from your mistakes.
I guess so, because I mean, that Electro, I think, and I said
makes
this off
sense.
mic, he's just such a step up.
It makes so much sense.
Yeah, and I thought it was just so great, and he had some of the best lines in No Way Home.
Like, I'm glad. I feel kind of happy for Jamie Foxx, for him to kind of redeem
butt
himself.
naked.
Butt naked right now in the middle of a field.
It's so good. And then knowing now after watching those extras, that some of his lines were absolute
improvised. He improvised
yeah.
Miles Morales.
The fact that he improvised Miles Morales' like somewhat line in there was kind
and they
of
were like,
like,
yeah, let's keep it.
Yeah, let's keep it. We can do it. We can do that now.
Keep the fans guessing.
Yeah. So I think among, and you know, sadly we haven't talked about Gobby Jr. in either of these two, you know, with these two universes so far. But I don't know. What do you think it is about Harry Osborn and him being Goblin that doesn't seem to resonate in either?
Have you seen the movies?
In either of them, yeah.
I feel like it's like was forced in the films.
Yeah.
You know,
both James Franco and Dane DeHaan.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's reason for both, but I don't know. I remember, like, now I think about it, like watching like Spider-Man 3 and like seeing Harry become, you know, Gobby Jr. I don't know, it just didn't hit for me like the way that I don't know that anyone else hit.
And that's kind of why I feel.
But I think it's just because that movie got so like crunched in together. It's like
but and also I mean, like, and I feel like Dane DeHaan's version kind of suffered for that as well. I just feel like Willem Dafoe is such a presence as that character
Yeah.
as his version of that character that it's almost like you just can't imagine even the successors. And that's
Someone
why
else living up to that.
yeah, and that's why I don't like, everybody still jokes like, oh, what about Ned being Hobgoblin? I'm like, no, I just don't think they're going to even try, at
Yeah.
least for another, like until the next Spider-Man comes in, period. You know what I mean? I just don't think they're going to do it because
Like associating yourself with the word with the name Goblin
You
is
just can't.
really tough.
yeah,
man.
you can't do it.
I mean, credit to Willem Dafoe for creating
Exactly.
such like
Yeah.
a memorable, iconic
yeah,
character.
yeah,
So it's like when you
Yeah.
think of Green Goblin, you think of Willem Dafoe.
right. Because
And any other form of a goblin, it's no one else but him.
Because from memory alone, like James Franco, he was like disfigured, right? That's it, because he had the pumpkin bomb
Yes.
in his face or whatever the
Yes.
heck. And then Dane DeHaan's was more grotesque, half goblin.
Yeah.
You know, he had pointy ears and he had the weird
Yeah.
skin and his hair was like a
It's
troll.
kinda weirdish.
Yeah, it's like they tried these versions of it and it just didn't stick to the wall, I
Yeah.
think, in either scenario. And so I honestly, in my opinion, I think, you know, like I just said with Max, I think had they just concentrated on Electro and Rhino, if you will, in Amazing Spider-Man 2,
Sure, yeah.
and then kind of went down the journey with I was gonna say James Franco, with Harry becoming Green Goblin, but actually not having him become him until the third film, and then that
Do
becomes
you
the
mean
Green
Spider-Man PS4?
Goblin. Yeah, exactly.
Because they did it so right.
Right.
That I was like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
ready for him to be
Right.
Green Goblin. Because
That's
Harry,
exactly it. Yeah.
Norman wasn't Green Goblin.
Right.
It's Harry that's
It's all
potentially,
Harry, yeah.
well, you know. So it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. And I think they could have also they could have faked us out a bit, kind of did like a Walking Dead where, you know, in the clock tower or whatever the
Yeah, yeah.
battle is, that Gwen gets injured or whatever from that film, but she doesn't die until the third. Like I would have, and then they
Hmm.
could have done the bridge scene. They could have done it
sure,
proper.
yeah,
And I think that would have made a far bigger impact and made more of an ending sort of that made sense for Andrew at the time, but didn't get that.
yeah. Like you get
Didn't
what
get
you
it.
get, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Beggars can't be choosers, man.
Exactly. So, Andy Garfield at least got redemption in the third film,
Yeah,
which of course is helmed by Peter One, Tom Holland. Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home, Spider-Man No Way Home, 2016 to 2022. So he's been in it for a good 6 years, which is
oh wow, yeah,
quite a while.
that's crazy.
Opposite of Zendaya as Michelle Jones Watson.
Drop the Watson though.
Drop the Watson, just MJ, which I thought was very clever, actually. But yeah, what do you want to even say about Holland?
Love the guy.
Like, where do we even start?
him. I mean, I think Stan Lee said it. He was like, "This is Peter Parker, like,
Yeah.
what he's supposed to look like." Not
Yeah.
saying that Peter or
Yeah.
Toby or
Andrew's like,
Toby
thank
and
you.
Andrew didn't look like that, but like
Yeah.
obviously as the young, like
Yeah, the
high school
youth.
16-year-old.
Yeah, I think he really does embody the youth of the character, and also like there is a certain charm in him that, given the right mixture or given looking at him a certain way
Yeah,
and seeing him for who he is,
He's a
does
kid.
make him very attractive also.
he's a kid.
Yeah, and so he's not just the awkward nerdy kid, which I feel Toby really excelled at kind of manifesting.
Yes.
And he's not also capable of being a handsome graduate, which is kind of what Andrew was in Amazing Spider-Man 2. He had a fresh cut and he was a little more mature.
Yeah.
You know, like Tom kind of really embodies both of those, and then on top of that also has Spider-Man. His
Yeah, and then
Spider-Man
I think
attributes.
I think what also helped Tom Spider-Man and accentuated like him being a real kid, and this might be a hot take because a lot of people hate this, is him being under Tony Stark. You know, like him, like
What do they call Iron Man Jr.?
like yeah, and because I say that because now he's Spider-Man, but like and he wants to be the hero, he wants to do all this, but now that he's noticed by his role model, and all he wants to do is just impress him. So he's a kid, but all he wants to do is just impress him. He's like, what do you want me to do? Da, 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 da. And he messes up. He fails because he's a kid. He makes mistakes.
Yeah.
And through that, he learned through that and loss, mistakes and loss. He becomes an adult. He becomes Peter Parker. He becomes Spider-Man, and he understands that he can't save everybody.
Right.
You know.
And
So-
would you ever go as far as to say that Iron Man, or at least Tony, kind of supplemented as a substitute for Uncle Ben, or do you think he was an addition?
now that we like think about it, like now that like we have these 3 movies, I don't think so.
That he is not a substitute.
No,
No, I don't think so either. Yeah, I never thought he was.
I think Marvel Studios, like people are like, we know the story of Ben Parker. We know what he means to Peter Parker and everything. We're not doing that this trilogy. We're doing it different, but he exists. But it's not the reason why Peter Parker will become Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Type of deal, you know? And we get that now because May says the
line,
ill-fated
line.
words.
Yeah.
So it's like, so it's May,
Yeah.
you know? So, and Tony was just like this mentor for sure, you know? Because obviously Tom knows Avengers. I want to be an Avenger. Like, I'm an Avenger. Like, I can be an Avenger. So he just wants to please Tony.
Yeah.
He wants his acceptance.
Yeah.
And it's just him. It's a coming of age for him, for his Spider-Man.
And do you feel, I mean, we've talked about this before. Do you feel that having him in high school this entire time benefited for the character?
Well, I know you have strong opinions about
I'm just
that.
like, get the boy out of high school already. At least for the last 2 films, you know, but I get it. I really do. But it's just like, you think about it, like they were playing like real time. You know what I mean?
I think yeah, it was, I mean, basically
Not even more. It was
like
slower than real
Far From
time.
Home and No Way Home
Yeah.
are literally right after each other.
They're right after each other. Yeah. It's Guardians 1 and 2.
I want to take a guess and say they did that on purpose because I think they wanted to bank on like this trilogy. It's going to be different from the last 2.
Yeah.
It's going to be different and it's going to be very successful and it's going to work.
Yeah.
So I know people are probably tired of him staying in high school, but trust me, this is going to work and it's going to be a huge deal.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll get to do another trilogy with him as an adult.
Now, do you think that's going to happen?
I like genuinely gut feeling. I do believe it's going to happen.
Yeah. You think he's
I
going
don't know when it's going to happen.
You think he's going to do 3 more? Or at least 1 more?
I think he does 1 more trilogy for sure. I think so.
He better get his
Because if you do
movies
one,
in now.
if you do one post the Home series, the Homecoming trilogy, people are gonna be like, "Why are you just doing like you just spent 3 years in high school, and like you went on this journey to be Spider-Man. Peter Parker's no more. You're Spider-Man, and you have this whole coming of age thing at the end of No Way Home. You're like, you like, if not 1, if not 3." 2 for sure. when it'll happen, that's a totally different story.
Yeah.
Is it gonna? It is not happening 2 years from now. I will tell you that right now.
If it is, I will be shocked.
2026 earliest.
Yeah.
That's it.
I would be very stunned if we got
because
it in
we
time
know. I mean, obviously, like we know, but like we know how when it comes to like shooting like those movies, it's a lot. So he like Tom would have to dedicate like just a year or 2 of his life just filming.
And I also think he just wants to get away from it a bit. You know,
try new things.
Yeah, because you know he's got Uncharted. Uncharted.
But if he did, But if Tom did like this, like 3 more movies of Spider-Man, and if that was it for him, I'd be like, yeah, cool.
Yeah, same.
Great.
Yeah, I agree. Because I just want to see more of his actual Spider-Man. And I want to see Peter out of high school.
Sure. No, yeah.
Just one. Just
I mean, they set it up for that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Like it's a clean slate for him. So
who did he get? He had gosh, am I already forgetting who was the Homecoming
Vulture.
villain? Is Vulture? Yes, of course. Adrian Toomes, played by Michael Keaton, and then he had Mysterio, played by Jake Gyllenhaal.
This is what this trilogy did right. It was one main villain.
This is very true.
The
per
first
film.
2 movies.
And then of course in No Way Home, the big five.
It's 5,
Yeah.
but it's 5 that you know of.
Exactly. They're already pre-existing.
They exist.
They didn't have to do too much world building as far as that's concerned.
Yeah.
And even if, because, you know, I knew a lot of people, including my own family, who were familiar with those stories, but they may have not seen every single one, let
Sure.
alone like the entire of like any one film.
Sure.
So I got a lot of questions, but not terribly confused. Like they could follow it really easily.
Yeah.
And they still were able to be like, I really liked that guy, or I
Yep.
really liked that character. And so I don't know who I most enjoyed. I thought Mysterio was really interesting because of the visual aspects that they had with that film.
Visually, that was insane.
And I think I did watch that in 3D just because I knew it was going to be a trip.
Oof.
Like that really long montage of him just getting like mind melded by Mysterio. I
mean,
thought it was really incredible.
I loved how Jake played Mysterio. I really did.
It was a very smart way to modernize that character for sure.
I also think a big reason of it is like how they played the ending, and
Yeah.
the way he played that ending of like or Spider-Man is, and I was just like, oh, this guy's demented. This
Yeah,
guy is
he's
just wreaking
nuts.
havoc,
Oh, yeah.
like without even doing anything.
Right.
Physically, he's just wreaking havoc.
I mean, if you think about it, he sets course for everything that happens in No Way Home.
yeah.
It's all his fault.
Have you seen those things on like on Twitter where it's
No.
like No Way Home could have been prevented if Peter just said, instead of forget who Peter Parker is, just forget who Mysterio is.
Yeah, exactly.
And in my head I was like, yeah, you're right.
That's very true.
Then there wouldn't be a movie. What are we doing here, guys?
There would be no
This is why you
story.
guys do not write Hollywood scripts. Like,
It would start and then end.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. But that said, I still kind of think Vulture has an edge
Toombs is
because Toombs was so well crafted.
that car
That
scene.
car scene is chilling even now. Even now,
It
I'm
holds
like,
up.
dude, it
It's
holds
really
up.
good.
And I think that's kind of where
It's really good.
where I was gonna say Peter, where Tom really shines is the least expected scenes. So that
Yes.
scene is like incredible. The scene where you are in No Way Home, where you realize, oh, May is gonna die. Like that scene it's so incredible. And the way he's able to convey, and it's not quite the same emotion that he has during like Infinity War, for instance. Like that is very sad. It is a very sad scene, and he says, "I'm sorry." Like that, like I don't want to go. Like that's really cute and it's really sad, but there's a next level sort of emotion
100%.
in his own films.
Even in Homecoming, when he's like getting crushed, it was like during the final fight.
Oh
getting
my
crushed, and
gosh.
he's like, "Come on,
Come on,
Spider-Man!"
Spider-Man, dude, that made
was
that
like-
made me cry. That scene made me cry.
And then I was, I think that was like
Yeah.
I think that's when I first said, I was like, "Yes,
yeah.
he's becoming yes,
He's yes.
this
And-
is it."
And that's like straight out of a very
Yeah, that was
iconic
off a panel,
storyline.
right?
Yeah, in Spider. I think I have that. I have my sister gave me like a giant 3x4 like
Oof.
of that cover
Yeah.
of him just pulling himself up from under the machinery. And yeah, I think Tom really excels at that, and I can see how even the older Spider-Men are like, dang, that kid can act.
Tom has one of those moments
Yeah.
in every single one of his movies. So
Yeah.
it was in that, in the first movie, his second one where he's when he beat Mysterio, he's just like
At the end.
"You can't trick me anymore."
That
and then
the
he
gun
grab-
yeah. Oh, that's so
Bro,
good.
oh that's the gangsterest thing I've ever seen in a movie.
Did you like scream
Oh my god! Oh
when
yeah,
the
because I was just
gunshot
like,
went off?
because I was just like, oh, what's gonna happen here? Like,
I was like,
what's gonna-" and he just boom, he grabs
Yeah.
his arm and the shot goes off, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh my god, the Peter Tingle works.
Exactly. Oh,
And then in
Chester
No Way
Tingle.
Home, he has
Yeah, he has so
honestly
many in
the
No Way
scene
Home.
in No Way Home for me, he doesn't even say a word.
Yeah.
It's when he's watching J. Jonah Jameson talk on that big
rip him?
screen, and he's
Yeah.
just watching it.
The rain scene.
And and I'm just like,
where you can't
this
even
monologue is powerful.
you
dude.
can't even tell where his tears begin. That's how
Yeah.
dramatic it was. I was like, dang. look
This
at
is
the
powerful. I
emotion.
mean, credit to J.K. Simmons.
Yeah.
And then I'm
of
just
course,
like,
icon.
this is like this is an insane scene. Like just J.K. going on that
Yeah.
on that monologue.
Yeah.
And then right before that, he just watched May die.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is insane.
And then of course the scene after is when Andy finally comes in, right? Like that's when the movie takes its turn, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
it goes from real dark and dismal to a bit more hopeful to
And then
like a
that- yeah.
full on like, oh my gosh, this is really happening.
Which is a great transition into when all three of them
Yes.
meet.
So iconic. I can't tell you. I cannot tell
I mean,
you.
yeah, I was with you. Obviously, like I watched it with you.
Yeah.
I was just like, I can't believe I'm seeing this on a movie screen right now. Like, because I've seen Toby's in theater.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the first ASM in theaters, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then just now it's like all three of them, two of them, both of them are back.
Mm-hmm.
Like they never left.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is. If you were to tell us in 2004,
Yeah.
would this happen? Would that be if there'd be three
no
Spider-Mans
way.
on screen?
No way. No
Not a
way.
chance. Pipe dream. Less than a pipe, more than a pipe dream.
Right. And it's incredible because it's like it didn't take decades of curating. You know what I mean? Like it's quite
took
honestly something that they were like
It
in the
took-
last
it
3
took
years.
18 years.
Yeah. They were like,
17 years.
hey, let's do this. You know what? Actually, let's do this. It's the time. It's the
I
right
hope the
time.
listeners know how impossible that was.
Oh, yeah.
Like back in the day.
There's
like
just
not
no
even
way.
like creatively and like, it's just politically,
Mm-hmm.
logistically. Movie studios suck. They're all so greedy and egotistical. Like they would never
Yeah.
share their IP with anybody.
Yeah, and especially one this big.
Yeah. Sony Spider-Man's IP is $1 billion worth $1 billion IP.
Yeah.
They wouldn't. It's priceless because they would never even sell that
Yeah.
IP to anybody.
It's kind of yeah, and it's kind of interesting because it's like it's discussion like this between studios and holding intellectual properties as such that people don't think of. Like this is why you don't see a lot of Roger Rabbit stuff. Like, do you know how many IPs are in Roger Rabbit? Like that's why there's not anywhere. That's why it's like there's a ride at Disney. But it's not like you see it on TV or anything. It's because they had to split all that money between WB, between the animation studio, Hanna-Barbera, and between like Woodpecker and Disney, all in one film.
Like Warner Brothers.
Like, that's
all that-
insane.
yeah. Like
And those are just cartoon characters. You know,
It's just
what I mean?
animation. It's not
That's
even
just
live act.
animation.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
And it's like, to then think of it in a grander scale as such when it comes to Spider-Man. And what they've done and what they've had to do just to get this discussion, and the old story of Amy Pascal throwing a sandwich at Kevin Feige
and be like, get out of my office.
Get out of my office.
Yeah.
Because he even suggested that they do No Way Home.
You know
or
what's
have a
crazy?
concept of
Like
that is
a
wild.
suggestion like that just came off like he probably just went to go see Amy. He was like, hey.
Oh
Amy.
yeah, for sure.
He was like,
Yeah.
and it's like it's just a friend to a friend. I see that your Spidey is kind of, what if you let us take creative control of it? Like you still have yours.
Yeah.
But let me put him in, and Amy was
Like,
probably
let
like,
me
what?
license it.
Yeah. Amy was
Yeah.
probably like, what the, no.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and the story goes like we all know that Spider-Man came in way late into Civil War.
Yeah.
Like I think they were still like in the middle of filming, and like
Yeah.
that deal didn't go through until like right in the
Yeah.
middle of production. So that's how that should go to show like how like crazy and logistical and
Dude,
political things really
so
get.
much that was such a thing that I deadlocked was like, he's not going to be in this movie.
Yeah,
There's no way.
I remember
They're already filming.
Because that's when I started to like really be aware of things, and I was just like, and like I would Google a lot of stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, like Spider-Man's not part of. Oh, okay, he's some. Oh, okay.
That's funny because we were in the office at the same time at that time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's why. So it's probably because of you. But I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And then there was like that rumor like started of like Spidey might be in Civil War, and you're
then
like,
they
everyone's
dropped
like,
the trailer.
and we're like, is he though? That's really hard to believe. Obviously it's not hard to believe now, but it's like at the time, no.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
they had that little end tag of the trailer, and you're like, whoa.
Hey, everybody.
I don't know how many times I've
Dude.
replayed
Oh my
that
gosh.
ending because I'm like, that's not real. Like, there's no way that's real.
Yeah, I
Like,
felt the
with
same.
the Stark suit and everything,
Yeah.
a new suit. You're like,
The eyes is
the
what
retractable
that's what
eyes?
that got me. I was like, his eyes move. Because that's something we only saw in Deadpool. Like, and Deadpool really pulled it off in that it was very much like a comic book style, and it was comical, but it wasn't nearly as jarring and off-putting as people apparently thought it would be.
yeah.
And so to then see them retract, and then also there be a technological reasoning for that.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Insane.
And the fact that they had 5 films speak nothing about everything before that to even get to that point. Like, oh, what if we made it a technology thing? It's like, oh, yeah,
But
actually, it works
These guys
pretty
get
well.
it, man.
But I will admit, there was a tiny fraction of me that was like, man, they replaced Andrew Garfield.
Sure.
Like, it was official.
Sure.
Like, it was already,
Yes.
of course, he was already
Yes.
done by then.
Yes.
But I was like,
Yeah.
oh, he's really
And that's only
not
2
in it
years
anymore.
out.
And it was only 2 years out. If
Whoa,
even 2
I didn't even
years.
realize. Oh, wow. That's really
They got rid of
soon.
him
Yeah,
real quick.
Yeah.
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 It's like a death in a family and somebody got remarried.
Boom.
You know what I mean? And
Exactly.
I was like, ooh.
Yeah, yeah, right
and he
away.
got announced, I think, I want to say 2015. So it was only a year.
Yeah.
It hurt a little bit.
Yeah, I can imagine. But
But it's very good, and it's also very good to see them all on the screen together.
and then like we can go back to like obviously because like earlier we were talking about each of their stories
Yeah.
and then how it ends up in No Way Home. So let's talk about Toby. Like where he's at, because obviously when he comes into No
Yeah.
Way Home, you can tell he's an older Spider-Man,
Yeah.
older Peter Parker,
Yeah.
wiser.
Wiser, yeah.
He's been through life.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know if I had read it or if I even thought it myself, or maybe it's just like the way of the land when people are kind of talking about Toby and his Peter Parker, but he is very reminiscent of a Peter B. Parker that we see in Spider-Verse,
Yeah.
in that he's older. He's been Spider-Man for like 20 years already, if not more than 20 years. He's gone through it all. His back hurts. He is married, or he's with MJ, and things are working out, or they're not working out so
you can
great.
you can tell through his body language throughout the whole film of
Yeah.
No Way Home. He's like, I've been here before. I've always wanted to find a cure for Norman. So yeah, I'm finally glad
Yeah.
to do it. And you can just tell that he's just wise. He wants to do
Yeah.
things the right
Yeah.
way.
He moves not in a way that's like a slow old man, but he moves with precision and intention
Yeah.
that is very different from the other two for obvious reasons, because Tom's is a child, if you will, and then
child.
Andrew's is more of, they even say he's an agile sort of arachnid. He's very quick and quippy, and he's almost like anxious.
Yeah. And Toby and Andrew are coming off different like ways of life from their Peter. We talked about Toby, like he's been in the game, he's doing it. He like his trilogy was about like Uncle Ben and like moving on from Uncle Ben and like learning from him and how to become a better Peter Parker and Spider-Man. And you kind of see that in him in No Way Home. He just gets it, like like this is the job, this is what we do.
Yeah.
He moves smarter, he moves wiser,
And they even say that in the film, right? Yeah, that's what we do.
like this is what we do.
Yeah.
And then with Andrews, this is him. He comes in at a time where he can't, at the time that where he, like you said, he wasn't pulling his punches.
Yeah.
Like he was rageful. But then he started to realize like this is not it. Like me being rageful is not gonna bring her back.
Right. Exactly.
So I have to accept this and just be a better Peter Parker Spider-Man. And
right.
obviously if it's not obvious, like the message is here is just be a better person.
Exactly.
Be a better Spider-Man, be a better Peter Parker,
Be a better you.
Because no matter what you do,
Yeah.
you're not going to bring whoever you lost back.
Right. Yeah.
And like John Watts said, like we are servicing Tom. They are servicing Tom's story.
Yeah.
They're not just coming back just to come back.
Right.
They're helping, funny enough, Tom's Peter
Right.
be who become who they
Yeah.
be.
And I think it's ingenious in that, because it's like it's like the Uncle Ben thing. They don't have to go back and tell it a third time. They don't
Yeah.
have to show it a third time for you to understand that this character has to go through that process.
Yeah.
And so it's by bringing in the two older spiders, it's almost like they're taking care of those side stories, if you will, for Tom Holland's version of the character by reflecting back, and then he's learning through their tutelage, if you will,
Yeah.
you know? And I really appreciated that, especially because it's like, again, yeah, he has been a Peter Parker that has been in high school for a very long time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like he's not necessarily missing out, but they're just not showing these other stories that could be happening to him.
Yeah.
And so by taking it from the Tobey, from the Andrew verses, it's really nice to see like, oh, okay, so there is kind of like a parallel from each of those storylines. And then, of course, the alternate ending, like with MJ and Peter 3, that instead, you know, he learned his lesson from not being able to save Gwen, and then realizes, okay, if I do it a different way, I finally get my second chance and I can do it right.
That
And
was
then does it
powerful.
right. Yes, and does it incredibly well with MJ. And my question to you is, there's two parts to this. One, how much time do you think has lapsed between each of these Spider-Men until No Way Home?
Oh, so
Aside
from the end
Tobey
of,
and Andrews.
from the end of their last movie to now.
Yes. Do you think it's real time, or do you think it's a suggested amount of time?
Oh, suggested amount of time for sure, because I think Toby's, like you said, a Peter B. Parker type of thing.
Yeah.
A couple of years for sure. Definitely in his adulthood.
Maybe 10?
I think
Yeah.
10's a solid number.
Okay.
I think 10 for Toby,
Yeah.
5 for Andrew.
Yeah. I would say less than for Andrew for sure.
Yeah. Not because of how they look, but
Yeah.
just of like how they move and how their
Yeah.
verbiage and how they talk to Tom. Of like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Now-
this is hard.
Do you think they got snapped?
Well, did
Because then that.
they? Well, did they though?
5
If they were
years,
from a different universe,
That's it, exactly. So it's like, oh, did they get snapped or not?
I'm gonna
Then
say
I-
no,
no.
since they were in a different universe at
Right.
the time.
Right.
But
Interesting.
that'd be I would be
Yeah, right.
I would be funny to see them like
It's kind of a plot twist.
yeah, that would be. But I think I knew like when Tom was going through it was that scene where they all three of them met for the first time. Is when Tom was explaining to them like nothing you can say or do like is gonna convince me anything, like I don't
Yeah.
care anymore.
Yeah.
That's when I like first like saw, I'm like, oh, okay, like this is not the usual Peter Parker like we're used to. Like he's like I'm done here.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys are going home. I'm
He's
gonna kill this
over.
man.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
ooh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, this is gonna get dark.
And it's also it's a mood reminiscent of how Peter 2 and 3 were when Uncle Ben died, which is like amplified because this particular Peter Parker went through particularly problematic situations, like Endgame and Infinity War. Reverse
Exactly.
those.
Like he's been
Like
through
he's
so much
been
more.
through it.
A lot.
Yeah. Speaking of the snap. But yeah, I just all three of them, and you know, again, Jeff and I watched the extras before recording, and I will not get over that the three Spider-Men landing on the Statue of Liberty was a real shot. Not the statue part, but like them landing on that was a real shot.
Yeah.
I thought for sure
It was.
that was all CG.
I mean, it probably
For
is
sure.
completely CG in the final movie, but
Yeah.
the fact that they went and shot that
Yeah.
actually, yeah,
That's insane.
super cool.
That's so cool. One of my favorite shots of all time.
Iconic.
Iconic. Oh my gosh. I never got my poster with all three. I'm really upset about that. It's fine. Now, what I do like about No Way Home, especially for the two previous Peters, and again, I know that this is like against the grain and not many people agree with this, but with the obvious closure for Toby's,
Yeah.
I think it does very much give an incredible amount of closure to Andrews. And
yes.
I don't feel like, and I don't, Andy said something in the extras that resonated with me in that idea. Like he said something about, it was an abrupt stop. And so to come back and have this sort of part of the story told felt like a proper closure or something. Like where it helped
exactly,
me close it up
I
a bit.
think with him saving MJ, played a huge part of it, but then also servicing Tom's Peter of like, look, man, like it gets better.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he was also just able to deal with the frustrations that he felt and also getting them out, like saying like I stopped pulling my punches and being able to kind of feel like he was valuable to somebody that he could pass his learnings down to.
Yeah.
I think really affected that character.
He kills that scene.
Oh, he's so good.
He kills that scene,
He's
man.
so good. Oh, Andrew. Do you have a favorite scene when it comes to No Way Home? How about this? How about one for each Parker?
Ooh. That's tough.
I mean, for me, it's easy. It's their intros. Like to have seen,
Yeah.
to see. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you.
Oh man.
By the time I saw it with my family, I think I was number 3. I was number 3 already, and so. But to sit next to my nieces and my nephew, watching that with my mother and my brother and my sister, my 16-year-old nephew in particular is he's taking after me in that he has this very fond appreciation for these characters and wants to learn more about them. Yeah. Hi Noah, if you're listening. But to sit next to him and to be able to watch his reaction, to see who he deems his favorite Spider-Man, who is Andrew Garfield. Nice. Come on to that screen. Yeah. And like me, when I first saw it, first you see the lenses and you're like, no, what? No way. And then it's actually him. Yeah. Is like,
it's insane.
You cannot get that feeling back after the first time. Like you can't. And I still felt it a little bit, but to see him have the exact same reaction I did, like no way.
It's insane.
It's so cool. And so that's why I forever kind of hate press and promos, because I'm like, dude, there are some parts you can't experience it like you do in the theater, right? And so the same thing with Toby, like to see him like from behind and you're like, no, they didn't. And then he turns around and it's Tobey freaking Maguire 15 years later.
Still crazy. That one was pretty wild. I mean,
insane. Like that really, like all the Spider-Man action aside, like I tell you, those two.
It's weird.
That is something else.
I think, maybe probably my scene is like all 3 of them when they're waiting for the villains to come, they're on the scaffolding. Yeah. And they're
getting ready.
And Tom's just like, so does that stuff come out of you? He's like, are you insulting? No, we're not insulting. We just we don't do that. So we just does it come out in other places?
Like all of the banter that they share, I think is just so good that you almost
it's
believe
so
like
natural.
If I didn't know that it's obviously scripted for a film, I would genuinely think that every line and every second of that was a stitch of
I would have just thought that, I would have just assumed like they're just like, John was just like,
go for it.
Just have a conversation as if you were yourselves as Peter Parker. Yeah. And then we're just going to film it.
Exactly.
Have fun.
Exactly. Kind of like they give them an outline of like, say something in this vein and then just go.
He's like, oh, I'm lame. I fought a rhinoceros. He's like, like, can we go back to this? Because you're amazing. You're amazing.
You're amazing.
He said it 3 times, by the way.
Oh, did
he? Did. I know. I caught that. He's like, you're amazing. You are amazing. You're amazing. Or like,
so
he said
good.
it 3 times.
See, it's stuff like that where I'm genuinely am like, how did they? And then like of course, the classic, who is Gamora? Or where is what is it? Is it who is Gamora?
Like
what? Why is Gamora?
Yeah.
Like why is Gamora is purely improv, and you're like, how did that come up? And then it just went,
it just makes
with the
sense
flow,
in the moment,
just like the I love you, guys. same thing. And you see a little bit of that in the extras as well, where
It's crazy.
they're kind of running through it and trying it a few times. Like, wait,
Yeah. Like, what do you say? Yeah, it's just like, what are you saying? Like,
Yeah.
I love you. Oh, okay.
thank you, thank you.
I just, anytime those three are on screen together, it's just, it's a treat, man.
Yeah,
It is a treat. Seeing Toby stop Tom from killing Goblin at the end too was like,
man.
for me, because obviously I love the Toby like trilogy. So seeing that and like the growth of Toby's Spidey, you know, and now instead of from wanting to not you didn't want to kill Norman, obviously, but like it's like it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, but for him to just like step in front and be like, this
no,
is not
this
it.
is not
This
the
is
way.
not gonna help you.
Yeah,
Like, this is,
yeah.
trust me.
Yeah, because even, you know, like, and we mentioned this in the Spider-Man episode, that Goblin's ultimate demise isn't even by Spider-Man's hand necessarily, and that's how it is in the books. You know, like he's impacted by his own glider, literally.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like it's more closure for these Spider-Men in that you know, that they're not only teaching somebody else, but they're also learning from their own actions. Like, no, this isn't. This is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
This is the right way to go about things. I mean, speaking of Tobey's Spider-Man, I think, I don't know if it was an interview. I'm not sure which one it was with even, but they mentioned that part that was very heartwarming when, you know, like, because when they come together with these cast members and these fellow actors that they haven't seen in a few years, at least in this capacity, for them to kind of rekindle and kind of like find that camaraderie again was really nice.
Yeah.
But I think it was Alfred Molina. He mentions, like, you know, like his favorite moment in becoming Dr. Octavius again was also on the scaffolding when it's more or less been resolved and they're about to square off. I don't remember which part. I haven't seen it since theaters, but he says, like, my boy, how are you how are you doing?
Like, Peter?
Yeah.
Otto,
Yeah.
how you been? You looking good? He's like, how you doing? Trying to do better.
Trying to be better.
And you're
Yeah.
like, oh, callbacks.
Yeah. And that scene and how soft he was toward Peter
Yeah.
and in a very Dr. Octavius mode.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I loved that so much.
That
And I just, those kinds of moments are just really, I think, special for all of the cast members, but
I know.
also
it was a trip. It
Mm-hmm.
was definitely a trip. Power of the sun in the palm of my hand.
yeah.
Like,
And all, like, you know, and then they have on the DVD and on the Blu-ray and the digital download, they do have this, you know, the Easter eggs, and they show all the callbacks for the films and where they've originated from in comparison to No Way Home. So it's really nice to see some of those things, like the Power of the Sun
My
brought
back.
back.
oh,
My back. Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't mention
I
that
know.
one, but the back thing is another, and just so many good nuggets that they really served for the fans, and still made an actually great film.
Yeah.
And I think, what did Tom say it, that they weren't just bringing back the
Yeah, but they
the
weren't.
other
They weren't. We
two.
weren't. We're just not gonna bring
Yeah.
like these two back just to bring them back. Like, they're gonna service,
yeah,
you know, the story.
Yeah,
and they
exactly.
do 100%.
100%.
And it's crazy
so-
because, like, you think about like what's Spider-Man's, Peter Parker's, like, you know, turning moment, and it's usually like, I mean, it still was, you know, Aunt May or Uncle Ben, you know, and
Yeah.
and using those words, like, that's the turning point. But for like other Spider-Men to be a part of that turning point story, it's insane because it's
Yeah.
never really
we'll never see anything like
happened.
that
Yeah.
ever again. Like, never quite
Ever.
like that. I was rewatching deleted scenes from Endgame today, actually. And Chris Evans said it during an interview or during that thing, and he was just like, you know, to look around and realize you're with all these actors portraying characters that they have been portraying for as little as a year, less than a year, to as long as 10 years, and just being in that same space and doing that. It's like you'll never see that again.
Oh,
Like, you'll never
yeah.
have that
the
energy
ending, the ending shot in
again.
Endgame. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's very much the same with No Way Home for the Spider-Man, because it's like you'll never see that trio together in that capacity with that energy ever again.
Ever.
Like, I would love to see them again.
Sure,
I
of
don't
course.
think we will.
I don't know if, to be honest, even if I don't know if they
Yeah.
need to.
No, I don't think so either, and
Like-
and I'm okay with that. But it's also like, yeah, it's because it'll never capture that same essence again,
Yeah.
which is kind of why I wonder what people who are like, there needs to be Spider-Man 4 and there needs to be Amazing Spider-Man 3. It's like, well,
That's just people getting a taste and they're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, we need more of it.
Yeah,
And it's like,
because-
sometimes you don't.
sometimes you don't, because
Yeah.
sometimes it'll come out not what you expect it to be, and that's
Yeah.
always the case.
It's like
especially with
Frank
these
Ocean
films.
or Kendrick Lamar. They release one album and
Yeah.
every 5 years. Fine.
It's fine.
Or 6 years. Or even Rihanna too.
Rihanna too.
Yeah. It's been freaking almost 7
Yeah,
years.
yeah, no,
Who cares?
Yeah, and she's on baby duty for
Yeah,
the
yeah,
next
she's
year
chilling.
and a half. Yeah,
so it's like
yeah, she's chilling.
you appreciate for
Yeah.
what's given, because if you keep if you keep pushing out
Yeah.
stuff like with them and like
Yeah.
that, it'll get tired.
Exactly.
Maybe it won't. I could be wrong because of Spider-Man,
Yeah.
but still, like,
Yeah.
no.
No.
That's why Iron Man had to die. I'll say it. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's true. Because you
Yeah.
can't expect them to keep going, and it's kind of like
That's why
like what you
characters
said,
need to
yeah.
die.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what James
Yeah.
Gunn said. This is why
That's the way
characters
characters need to
die,
die,
because if I bring them back, it defeats the purpose of why they died.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
Yeah.
let people die. let characters die and stay
You should
dead.
put that on a shirt, Jeff. Let
when
people
I at my funeral, for my funeral, you make sure I have a shirt that says "Let them die." Let
dark.
people die.
Oh
Don't try
my
to
God.
resurrect me.
So dark. Oh, I know. There you go.
Like,
Oh,
it's,
God.
like it's fine. These are
Yeah.
fictional characters.
Yeah. No, exactly.
And it's like Andrew did his job in the movie.
Yep.
Toby did his job in the movie.
Yep.
And like you're satisfied by it. I mean,
So
I am
satisfied.
If you want to see them again in that capacity, sure, yeah, but no.
Imagine not being satisfied with No Way Home.
Yeah.
Imagine. I can't. I really can't.
No.
Yeah, I just and as somebody who at large, I don't even know if that I have a favorite, but
Yeah.
like Tom Holland's films, I don't love them the way that I love the other
Sure.
other ones, right? I don't. I think they're incredibly well done, but
Yeah.
the other ones slap different for me. But I still feel very satisfied with No Way Home, you know, and I
It did
think
its job.
It's just it did its job. It's just
It's
like
it's the end of a trilogy,
Yeah.
and it did its job.
Yeah,
You can't
exactly.
be mad at it.
Exactly. So after all that, do you know which Peter are you, Jeff?
Oh.
I asked this question on social too, and we got some good feedback on Instagram.
Which Peter am I?
Yeah, which Peter resonates with you?
Oh.
Well, can you answer first and foremost which one is your favorite? We've gone
I
on
know.
about this for
Toby's still my favorite.
Okay.
Like,
Still the goat.
oh man.
Yeah.
Still.
Why is he your favorite? Why does it make it your what makes
Well, one,
your favorite?
well, obviously that was the first iteration of Spider-Man I've seen on screen. I grew up with him, and he played the character so just like so quirky, so nerdy, so like funny. Like I'll never like one of my favorite things from like that trilogy is just when he first discovered he has the webs and everything, and he's like.
the glasses is never gonna get
And
old.
yeah, and then he's like, and he's trying to figure out the web, and he's like, go web,
Oh, that's iconic.
fly, go web, go. That shit,
That is incredible.
yeah, that shit, like,
And also like it's again, it's the treatment of the director and the cinematographer and the DP and just like the way that they focused on his hands and the way that he just kind of just throws spaghetti to the wall.
yeah, it's crazy.
And he's like,
you know,
"Fly."
what image resonates with me, and I do randomly sometimes, like still to this day, even though he doesn't say anything, he does this, and he goes
Yeah.
bah bah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh God, it's so
It's
good.
so good. No, it's really,
so
really good.
good.
And even then, like those choices that were made in that film were all made as callbacks to the books, which is really nice.
But if I had to resonate with one, I think it is Tom.
Yeah, I was gonna say Tom.
Probably Tom. Like the guy is
For sure.
The guy's a people pleaser. He just wants to do good.
Yeah.
Always wants to believe. He always wants to make the right choice.
Yeah.
And sometimes the right choice is the wrong for others.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know that because he's just a kid. He's
Right.
young and naive. And so I think I resonate with Tom just a little bit more.
Toby and Tom, huh?
But I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think I'm Andrew across the board. I think he is my favorite. But again, like I think I said this in Spider-Man, doesn't have my favorite movies. Toby is definitely my favorite movies. But I think Andrew is my favorite Spider-Man.
Yeah. Andrew has my favorite quips.
Yeah.
Definition of Spidey quips is
Yeah.
Andrew.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark Webb.
Hey, Dr. Connors. Wait your turn.
And then Tom is my favorite Parker. But I think I do resonate a little more with Andrew because he's awkward. He's a little awkward.
Same.
But Instagram, social media. I did put on Twitter, but not many people respond on Twitter. But on Instagram, we got some good reception. 12% said that they are Toby.
Uh-huh.
They're Peter 2. 25% said Peter 1 with Tom. And if you can believe
Wow.
it,
Okay.
62% said Andrew, Peter 3.
Everyone loves Andrew.
What is that?
Everyone loves
Where did it come
Andrew.
from? Where were you in 2014 when we needed you?
They stopped pulling their punches.
Where? I know. Everybody just pieced out after Gwen hit the floor,
Yeah.
apparently. God.
Jesus.
I know. I have to lean into it.
And she leaned into it too.
Oh,
Yes.
oh,
Sorry, Emma Stone.
pain. Yeah, not Emma Watson. Oh gosh.
Oh man.
So that said, let's talk the future of Spider-Man, if we can.
If there is one.
Well, there definitely is in some capacity.
I don't know where it goes.
Because we at least get across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, delayed, but
1 and 2
gosh.
delayed, sadly, but there is some life there.
Yeah.
Super duper excited, of course. We're not even sure what's really going to happen, but
Yeah.
as far as I understand, the first film is going to be more of Miles, a little more 2099, and then for the second half, we're going to go dipsy-doo into Earth 65, which
Crazy.
is my territory.
Crazy.
With Spider-Gwen and the rest of the Spider-Women. Hopefully, maybe. We'll see. I don't know. But yeah, what about another trilogy? So you think another trilogy is gonna happen, huh?
Praying for it. Like I said, I don't think it happens soon.
Yeah.
I say earliest could be 2026, but I don't know if that means it'll come out in 2026
Yeah.
or they start production in 2026.
I would say production.
So
Yeah. Do you think that there will be more crossover? Or do you think he'll be solely in Sony land, given all these projects, all these Sony movies that are coming out?
we're gonna be started on we're not even gonna talk about the announcement of
Oh,
those.
so I shouldn't bring it up? Okay, I was
No.
gonna pull up that picture that we were both like, what?
No. No disrespect to Bad Bunny.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, I won't talk on it much, but I told you this. I was just like, this is Sony just banking on Spider-Man right now.
Yeah.
The likeness of Spider-Man, not even Spidey himself, just
Yeah.
the likeness of him
Yeah.
and his surrounding adversaries or whatever.
It's very strange.
But when it comes to MCU Spidey, I don't know. Because now we go back into the political, logistical side.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to bring him in for a project, where would it make sense?
Right.
Why would Why would it make sense?
And why does it need
would
to be?
Tom even be willing to come back just to do it for, if it's even for like a 10-minute cameo, which is a lot technically, a huge cameo.
Yeah.
It's like, does it make sense? Is it worth the money? Because you got to pay him a lot.
Yeah.
Either pay him a lot or you got to pay Sony, the studio, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like that's when it gets finicky. You know, it has to make sense to Spidey for Spidey to pop up in a project. Mm-hmm. So give me a Daredevil, Deadpool, and a Spider-Man show.
Team Red.
Give me a Team Red.
I just want Team Red.
Movie, show. I don't care.
Yeah.
Something.
Any of it.
I need to see Ryan Reynolds and Tom Holland interact
with Charlie Cox.
Yes.
Yes.
They've already interacted too. So
exactly.
We're halfway there.
See, what my resolve would be is that it'd be like, Sony, you want to make all these movies? I have a proposition for you. There's a streaming platform called Disney Plus. How about?
And they're not even on anywhere too.
But how
oh my
about?
Gosh.
But how about Team Red show? Okay, Team Red show, and in each episode, one of those adversaries that you were gonna turn a movie into gets an episode or two. Make it a 12 episode series. And every
12, you'd be lucky if you get freaking 6
or 2 seasons. 2 seasons.
Sure,
2 seasons.
Yeah.
And each episode or every other episode is.
I'm sure they know
those
how much
villains.
Both parties would benefit if Deadpool and Spidey and or Daredevil like did something together. I'm sure it's been projected up on the mood board, and I'm pretty sure it's on Kevin Feige's mood board for sure.
But see, this is the one and only reason why I almost don't expect any of that.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll tell you right now, simple Winter Widow, because they never did it. They didn't have Natasha and Bucky together.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
I know.
That's a big one. So the fact that they just went, we're gonna erase that off the board.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, Team Red, you're not safe, bro.
Yeah,
you're not safe.
Like I said, a lot of factors play into it. Like, is that something Ryan wants to do? It doesn't work into his schedule.
He does.
I know.
You know, he would make room for that, and I'm sure Charlie Cox would. It's more of like, I feel like at this point it's a Sony thing, and
it's a Sony thing. That's the thing too.
Yeah.
At this point, it's a Sony thing because Disney owns Fox and the Netflix shows. So it's just all about if Sony wants to play nice and play fair.
Yeah.
And I feel like Sony's.
Because I think Tom is all for it because he really
100%.
He loves.
You saw how much he loves being in the MCU,
Yeah.
and I just feel like, I mean, I could be wrong. This is me just projecting. But like Sony, like having a little bit of like of an ego thing, you know, of like, it's doing so well, but like it's still ours.
Yeah,
like it's still
ours.
Yeah,
it bums me out a bit, but let's just hope that
that's showbiz, baby.
Yeah, I was gonna say, hopefully they learn to be better.
I mean, on Deadpool 3, I can't wait
advice.
for Deadpool 3. I'm excited because Sam Levy's directing it too.
Yes,
it's gonna be crazy, but. Just give me. I really just want to see Tom and Ryan Reynolds just work together.
Can we please,
in a Deadpool and Spider-Man
just
aspect?
A little red.
That's all I want.
Just a touch of red with really hokey but almost borderline raunchy like promotion, and like a terrible name that still works. Like I just want all of that. I want all of that. One day.
But trilogy is still in my cards.
Yeah.
A second trilogy. With Tom is still in my cards.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And in semi-related news, they do have the 60th anniversary Spider-Man exhibition coming to the San Diego Comic-Con Museum.
Ooh.
It opens, I believe it opens in July, if not around the same time as Comic-Con itself, which is going back full-fledged this year.
Okay.
I will be there.
Nice.
And I hope to get to see this exhibition. The digital version or digital component of it happened a month or two ago, where they gave away the NFT, and it was a big deal.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
So, and that was really great in its own right, and so I can't wait to see this exhibition come to life, because it's going to pay tribute to all of the iconic creators, and I'm sure that the cinematic versions are going to be in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Along with, Spider-Man and the manga version and all these other versions of the character. But yeah, is there anything left on the Spider-Man docket to talk about for now?
I think we hit all. I mean, I my main thing was to like touch on all like their stories and how they all came together.
Yeah.
And I started, as I was saying it out loud, I started to realize like, oh, it's technically all the same journey.
Yeah.
It all came to the same end, just in different ways.
Yeah.
But all three of them felt so different, which is what I loved.
Which
like,
is, yeah.
what I loved that No Way Home showed. And you're like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like,
And they say that in the extras too. I'm not sure if it was John Watts himself or somebody else, but just from the way that they move to the way that they talk and the way that their suits, they're all different, but it's the same character. They're just presenting their own versions of it. And that's the beauty of that character, really.
I love it.
Yeah.
So much.
We love Spidey.
Yes.
Well, all right. Well, I guess that's the end of the show.
Woo!
Woo! Here we go.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot of Spidey, man.
Yeah.
A lot of Spideys.
But yeah, I mean, that was fun. I enjoyed it.
And then
I hope to see more of him.
I'm sure we'll have more Spider-Man to talk about in a good 6 episodes. Because we still have, I'm sure we're going to get more news about the game at some point. And then there's going to be more across the Spider-Verse. And yeah.
I'm excited.
More Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So yeah. So thanks for listening. Next episode. We don't quite have a character lined up. Not formally, at least.
Yes.
So we're going to leave it to the listeners. If you are a Patreon patron, you probably got this news already. Everybody else, we're going to leave it up to you. So send us your suggestions. We've put out a few feelers.
Yes.
I can tell you right off the bat, right now, most interest, Bucky Barnes, Winter Soldier, so far. So he might take it. We'll see. I don't know. And a couple of others. I can't remember who else. I think Captain Marvel was one.
We haven't done Captain Marvel?
No, we have not done
Oh
Captain
my
Marvel.
gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then of course the Hulk. He's still looming around.
So many.
So
many.
we've got a few floating around. So
let us know.
Let us know. We are Groot Salute to Tyler, Ashley, Andrew, Ed, Katie, the Arachnerd, Melanie, Nats, Jenny, Robin, Joe, Liz, Ariel, Claire, and Laura. Follow us on social at STRKCNTRST. And if you like what you hear, rate, review, and subscribe.
Woo!
And of course, if you'd like to support the show, become a patron.
Yeah.
All of the links in the notes.
Once again, thank you guys, and we will see you in the next one.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Now you got it. Okay, Peter 1, Peter 2.
Peter 2.
Peter 3.
Peter 3.
All right, let's do this. Ready?
Go. Wait.
I love you guys. Thank you.